Hey future educators, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into Competency 002I, which is all about weaving music into content areas. Think of me as your personal instructional coach today. Preparing for certification exams can sometimes feel like you're just memorizing a giant mountain of abstract theories. But today, we're going to bridge that gap. We're taking the academic concepts you need to know and translating them into the real, everyday magic that happens in a successful classroom. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, so how do you make difficult concepts like fractions actually click for your students? Picture this. You're in your very own classroom. It's a Tuesday morning, you've got 25 energetic kids looking up at you, and you write a fraction problem on the board. Say, adding 1/4 to 1/4. You turn around, and instead of light bulbs going off, crickets. You just see a sea of blank stares, furrowed brows, and maybe a few kids who have decided a spot on the ceiling is suddenly very fascinating. We've all been there, or well, you soon will be. Fractions are notoriously tough because they're just so abstract. As a new teacher, you're going to face moments where the traditional textbook explanation just isn't landing. So what do? How do you pivot and make an abstract, frustrating concept make sense?
Well, here's the secret. You teach them using musical note values. Seriously, you don't just repeat the math rule louder or slower, you completely change the language you're using. By bringing in music, you show them that, hey, a quarter note plus a quarter note takes up the exact same amount of time as a half note. Suddenly, they aren't just looking at numbers on a page anymore, they're clapping out a rhythm. They are literally feeling the math. This perfectly illustrates that music is not just some fun extra or a break from real learning, it's actually a highly effective cognitive tool that can completely unstick a student who was lost just 5 minutes ago.
And that brings us exactly to what the state expects you to know. Competency 002, descriptor I states that a beginning teacher integrates instruction in music with instruction in other subject areas. On a practical level, this just means you must connect music to other academics to deepen understanding and really boost that engagement. The test makers want to know that you view your curriculum as an interconnected ecosystem, not a bunch of walled-off gardens. When you integrate music, you aren't just checking a box on a lesson plan. You're drastically increasing the chances that your lesson will resonate, literally and figuratively, with your kids.
To really nail this competency, we need to get comfortable with the academic language you'll see on the exam. The first essential term is interdisciplinary instruction. Simply put, this is teaching that connects multiple content areas. Think of it as breaking down the silos. Instead of saying, okay, put away your math books, it's time for music, interdisciplinary instruction says, let's use what we know about music to solve this math problem. It's a structural approach to your lesson planning. By teaching this way, you're actually helping students build neural pathways that link different domains of knowledge, making their learning way more durable and much easier to recall later on.
Right, let's move to our next core term and see how it builds on the last. Cross-curricular integration is the act of linking concepts from different academic subjects. If interdisciplinary instruction is the broad strategy, cross-curricular integration is the specific action of tying those threads together. And why does this matter for your students? Well, because human brains naturally learn by making associations. In fact, our brains process musical rhythm and phonological awareness in highly connected areas. So when a student who loves music, but maybe struggles with reading, discovers that poetry and song lyrics share the exact same rhythmic structures, boom! You've just used cross-curricular integration to throw them a lifeline. You've given them a familiar lens to conquer an unfamiliar challenge. It's a real game changer.
Okay, let's break down what this instructional playbook looks like in action. Here we have a table showing content area, topic, and music integration. In math, as we discussed, you turn abstract fractions into tangible beats using note values. Now picture a science lesson on sound waves. Instead of just reading about frequency and amplitude, you bring a guitar into your classroom. You pluck the thickest string. They watch it vibrate slowly and hear the low pitch. Then you pluck the thinnest string. Your students are visually and audibly experiencing the physics of sound. Finally, imagine a history lesson. When teaching historical events, integrate songs from that exact time period. You aren't just memorizing dates of the civil rights movement, you're listening to the protest anthems that fueled it. You're letting students hear the emotion and the struggle of the era. That is how you make history live and breathe in your classroom.
I want to pause our flow right here for a second. Take a breath and ask yourself, what will this look like when you are teaching your own students? I really want you to visualize your future classroom. You are going to have a room full of incredibly diverse learners, English language learners, neurodivergent students, kinesthetic learners who need to move, and auditory learners who need to hear. How might a student who is still learning English respond when you use a repetitive song to teach a science concept? They might finally feel confident enough to join in because the melody carries the words. What intentional decisions will you make to ensure that music isn't just background noise, but a purposeful tool that opens doors for every single kid sitting at those desks?
Now, I know exams can cause a lot of anxiety, so let's directly address what you need to pass the TEXES 905 exam with flying colors. Keep these key takeaways as your guiding principles. First up, music supports learning in other subjects. The exam will definitely try to trick you with options that isolate music as a standalone, unrelated activity. Don't fall for it. Always choose the option that uses music as a scaffold or support system for core academics. Second, effective teachers intentionally build academic connections. Notice that word intentionally. Cross-curricular integration doesn't happen by accident, right? It happens because you, the teacher, specifically planned a lesson that wove a historical folk song into your social studies unit. Keep these two principles in mind, and you're going to navigate those scenario questions with absolute confidence.
Let's wrap up with this really powerful thought. Effective teachers intentionally build academic connections. Look, passing your certification exam is a massive, important milestone, and you are absolutely going to do great. But remember, the exam is just the gateway. The ultimate goal is becoming the kind of teacher who designs experiences your students will remember for the rest of their lives. By weaving music into math, science, and history, you're telling your students that the world isn't just neatly boxed up into separate subjects, it's a beautifully connected tapestry. So, as you continue your prep and look ahead to that very first day of school, I want to leave you with this final question. What is the first connection you are going to build for your students? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy teaching.